We're used to thinking of survival as some kind of extreme skill for special forces. You know, those trendy shows where people are dropped into the jungle and eat bugs on camera. But for our distant ancestors, survival wasn't a TV show or an exciting weekend hobby.
It was their daily, monotonous, and completely ordinary routine.
And of all historical eras, it was the Middle Ages that demanded absolutely superhuman physical endurance from people. Modern people break down if the air conditioning is turned off in the office for just a couple of hours. We start complaining on social media that working conditions have become simply unbearable and inhumane. Now imagine life in 14th century Northern Europe in mid-January. Temperatures drop below freezing, you have no central heating, and the nearest supermarket won't be invented for another 600 years. Sounds like a surefire death sentence, doesn't it? But medieval peasants didn't just survive in these hellish, icy conditions.
They worked hard, raised children, built gigantic cathedrals, and managed to find joy in their lives.
And they did this thanks to one fundamental physiological habit that we have completely lost because it's no longer necessary. Today, scientists are spending millions of dollars to study this phenomenon in modern sports labs. But for the average guy from 1342, it was just a typical frosty Tuesday. Most people picture a medieval winter based on beautiful Hollywood movies. In these films, lords and peasants sit by a huge, roaring stone fireplace. The fire crackles merrily, the room is very warm, and everyone drinks hot ale from wooden mugs. It's an incredibly atmospheric scene that has absolutely nothing to do with the harsh historical reality. In fact, most medieval homes were incredibly cold, dark, and damp places. Building a huge stone fireplace was an insanely expensive luxury in those distant times. Ordinary people made do with a simple, open earthen hearth right in the center of the floor. The smoke rose upward and slowly escaped through a special hole in the thatched roof. Do you know what else went out through that hole into the street along with the acrid smoke?
Absolutely all the heat that this tiny home fire tried to generate inside the room. It turns out they were literally heating the street.
And this is where things get really interesting from the perspective of our modern understanding of domestic comfort. Medieval people understood one incredibly simple, yet absolutely brilliant physical principle. Trying to heat an entire wooden building in winter is a pointless and foolish waste of precious resources. Instead, they decided to heat not the room itself, but specifically their own bodies. It sounds wild to us, accustomed to a steady 20 degrees throughout the entire apartment all year round. But this strategy worked flawlessly. Modern people wear light t-shirts and shorts at home in the winter. We rely entirely on cast iron radiators and smart thermostats that do all the work for us. A medieval peasant wore almost as many layers of thick clothing at home as they did outside. They created a unique microclimate around their bodies, using several layers of natural, undyed wool. And this portable microclimate protected them from the cold far more effectively than any brick stove in the house. Think about how modern hikers buy expensive thermal underwear for mountain treks. We pay a fortune for synthetic fabrics that wick away moisture and retain our body heat. Peasants used ordinary coarse linen for the bottom layer and rough sheep's wool for the top. Linen absorbed sweat perfectly, and wool kept them warm even when completely soaked with snow. Nature invented the ideal high-tech thermal underwear long before the advent of modern sports brands. Surprisingly, their clothing literally functioned as a portable biological climate control system. If a peasant got hot during hard work, he would simply remove one woolen layer. As soon as the sun set and the temperature dropped rapidly, he would immediately put it back on. No smart thermostats or smartphone apps were needed at all to regulate temperature.
Your body was your true home, and you managed it manually every hour of your life.
And honestly, that's truly impressive. Modern science is only now beginning to understand the real physiological benefits of such a rigorous approach. When we are constantly kept warm, our natural biological thermoregulation system becomes lazy. We literally lose our body's ability to warm our internal organs on its own without external chemical or thermal assistance. Medieval people, on the other hand, had an incredibly well-trained cardiovascular system, thanks to constant fluctuations in ambient temperatures. Their blood vessels were constantly constricting and dilating, functioning as a perfect and powerful biological pump. You might rightly ask, were they ever really cold at all? Of course they were very cold, especially on the harshest and windiest February nights, but their perception of cold was radically different from our modern, pampered urban standards. For them, a slight shivering was simply a normal, background state of their entire winter life. They didn't panic because their fingertips were slightly frozen. They simply kept chopping wood, which, by the way, warmed the body perfectly well on its own. Today we call this a conscious step outside the zone of absolute psychological comfort. Trendy coaches sell expensive courses on how beneficial it is to freeze sometimes for the sake of robust health. Medieval people would simply have laughed out loud upon hearing that someone pays real money for this. For them, it wasn't some trendy Eastern practice for spiritual growth, but plain old daily survival. And this harsh method made their bodies tough and strong, like well-tempered steel. But proper clothing was just the tip of the iceberg in their complex system of winter survival. The way they slept shocks the modern city dweller even more than their prickly wardrobe. We're used to lying down in a soft bed, alone, or with a partner, covered by a thin, weightless blanket. For them, however, a regular night's sleep turned into a full-fledged, strategic operation for collective nighttime heating. And here the story gets truly wild and even a little scary for the modern introvert. Let's move on to their shocking nighttime habits. Try to clearly recall your last trip to an old wooden cottage in early, bitterly cold spring. The house is thoroughly and completely frozen through from the long winter, so you immediately turn on a powerful electric heater. And yet, you still shiver agonizingly for several long hours, wrapped in the thickest down comforter. Your teeth chatter treacherously and very loudly, beating out a ragged rhythm in the absolute silence of the countryside. And your feet won't warm up at all and feel like two chunks of real dead Arctic ice. Now vividly imagine that there is no life-saving heater at all, and a real medieval blizzard is raging outside. How is it even possible to keep warm at night when the meager fire in the hearth has long since gone out hopelessly? The wooden house has cooled completely, and the icy wind blows freely through the numerous cracks in the walls. The answer lies in a unique social structure that would make a modern, self-centered person weep in personal horror. Medieval people never slept in proud, isolated solitude in their own separate, spacious, and warm bedrooms. The entire large and boisterous peasant family would squeeze onto a single, truly gigantic and hard wooden bed. In terms of its size, this structure resembled a small, flat military training ground more than a piece of furniture. A tired father, an exhausted mother, and several perpetually hungry children of all ages would lie down as close to one another as possible. And sometimes they were joined by distant relatives or travelers who had dropped in by chance, shivering from the cold. They literally and physically formed one huge, living radiator made of human bodies pressed tightly together. Every human body constantly and continuously emits roughly as much heat as a standard 100-watt incandescent light bulb. It doesn't sound very impressive until you add those figures together in a single, enclosed, and cramped space. 6 or 8 people in one bed, that's already a decent and reliable biological heater.
The output of such a living system was approximately 600 or even 800 watts of continuous thermal energy.
And if you cover this warm group securely from above with a thick layer of coarse woolen blankets, the heat won't go anywhere. The result is a sort of enormous and highly effective giant thermos made of natural insulating materials. In this cocoon, people keep each other warm all night long with their own breath and body heat. It sounds horribly uncomfortable, unsanitary, and absolutely unacceptable to our pampered modern perception of the world. But thanks to this harsh intimacy, none of the household members died from sudden hypothermia in their sleep. This survival method was dictated by the most ruthless nature and left them no other choice. But there's another absolutely brilliant and terrifying trick hidden here that you probably never guessed. They didn't just sleep all together in incredibly cramped quarters. They also brazenly brought animals into the house. Yes, large domestic cows, curly-haired sheep, and dirty pigs very often spent the night right on the ground floor. They shared the same living space with the peasant family during the harshest and coldest winter months. We look down on this as a manifestation of terrible, unsanitary conditions and deep historical barbarism. But in reality, an average adult cow emits a truly enormous amount of heat into the surrounding space. She does this continuously simply through her heavy breathing and the massive size of her warm body. The animals downstairs functioned as a huge and completely free biological boiler for the entire frozen wooden house.
The warm, humid air from their massive bodies rose slowly and inexorably to the second living level.
It was there, right beneath the thatched roof, that the owners of this strange, medieval domestic zoo usually slept. It turns out that clever peasants cleverly used the natural, active fermentation in the cow's stomachs as a reliable source of heat. It was their ancient, foul-smelling, but incredibly effective equivalent of modern central heating. By modern, sterile standards, this sounds wild and elicits nothing but a disgusted grimace of revulsion. But the basic and immutable laws of physics worked for these uneducated people absolutely flawlessly and without fail. Nature generously shared its warmth with them in exchange for the hard daily labor of caring for livestock. Modern advanced psychiatry officially recognizes that this type of biphasic sleep effectively and very gently reduces anxiety. It helps the brain process the negative emotional information accumulated during a hard day correctly and without stress. The Romans and the hardy medieval peasants unconsciously used this free, powerful antidepressant every cold winter night. Today we swallow handfuls of chemical pills to shut down for 8 hours at any cost. We fall into a wild panic if we happen to wake up in the middle of the night, considering it a terrible nervous breakdown. But our wise and hardened ancestors viewed such a nighttime awakening as a generous gift from nature itself. It was their legitimate and undeniable opportunity to calmly reflect on life in silence, free from the hustle and bustle. Paradoxically, their nervous systems were far more resilient than ours, we who are always rushing somewhere in the megacities. And this was despite the constant underlying threat of starvation, terrible epidemics, and brutal feudal wars. And speaking of the harsh winter famine, we smoothly arrive at yet another shocking historical survival habit. The way they actually ate during the long winter would make modern, trendy dietitians clutch their hearts in horror. They had absolutely no life-saving 24-hour supermarkets on the next street or fast delivery services. They couldn't buy fresh Chilean strawberries or sweet mandarins in the cold, snowy month of February. Their meager diet changed so radically that their bodies literally and completely rewired their entire basic cellular metabolism. And what they did solely out of desperate necessity has today become the most expensive and elite trend in fitness. Let's take a closer look at how severe food scarcity turned them into incredibly resilient biological machines. Today, we eat the same foods year-round with great pleasure and without a second thought. We take them out of brightly colored plastic containers and beautiful, crinkly packaging. Modern people don't give a second thought to the true origin of their daily food. Your stomach has absolutely no idea whether it's a hot July or a freezing December outside. This is because our daily menu hardly ever changes. The food industry has made the changing of the natural seasons completely imperceptible to our bodies. We always have incredibly cheap, round-the-clock access to fast carbs. We can easily buy refined sugar and fresh fruit at any time of day. The shelves of giant supermarkets are simply bursting with exotic, overseas goods. These products are delivered daily from distant, hot Ecuador or sunny, warm Spain. Global logistics have permanently severed our natural connection to our native land. To any typical medieval peasant, our life would seem like an incredible miracle. The concept of a juicy, sweet banana in the middle of a frosty winter would sound to him like pure magic. Their harsh and monotonous diet was always strictly tied to the surrounding nature. They were mercilessly dependent on the changing, endless, and unpredictable seasons.
And the arrival of a cold winter always automatically signaled the start of the year's most grueling ordeal.
It was an inevitable shift into a regime of total food rationing and a half-starved existence. Peasants could not simply hope for a miracle or help from the state. They prepared in advance and very carefully for this annual harsh ordeal. People carefully gathered literally every crumb that fell from their table. They diligently dried and securely stored absolutely any edible forest root. Toward the very end of the long winter, the most dreadful time inevitably arrived. They referred to this period among themselves, gloomily and with a sense of utter doom, as the hunger window. During this period, food supplies dwindled before their eyes at an alarming rate. The old reserves of grain gathered during the warm autumn were nearing their sad, inevitable end. The same was true of the heavily salted meat, which had been saved for the harshest frosts. And the new, fresh spring crop had not even been planted by the peasants in the fields yet. The cold, thoroughly frozen, hard ground simply could not accept the seeds. People had no choice but to wait for the first warmth of spring and ration their last crumbs. This meant that the total daily caloric intake of the diet dropped sharply by several times. This state of semi-starvation stretched out over a long and agonizing couple of months. People meekly ate just once, or at most twice, during the short winter day. Their portions were very modest and always incredibly carefully measured. Today, these portions would seem simply ridiculous and utterly insufficient to us. We wouldn't even get full on this during a light evening snack in front of the TV. And yet, these people did more than just survive in such dire conditions of total scarcity. They managed to work incredibly hard and productively in the fields for days on end. They had no official days off or paid sick leave. How can a normal person haul heavy firewood and dig rocky soil? How is it possible to do this while constantly being in a prolonged state of severe semi-starvation?
The answer to this medical mystery lies in an amazing phenomenon of our human physiology.
Our bodies possess a truly remarkable and hidden biological adaptability to stress. Modern scientists and sports medicine doctors respectfully refer to this unique state as metabolic flexibility. It is the body's natural and powerful nutritional adaptation to sudden changes in the environment. By nature, our body can incredibly efficiently utilize various sources to produce energy. There are two completely different types of internal biological fuel for our cells. And this mechanism has been shaped over hundreds of thousands of years of harsh evolution. The first type of fuel is very familiar to all of us and has been part of our lives since childhood. Our bodies can easily and very quickly burn simple carbohydrate, glucose. We get it in abundance from fresh, hot meals and countless sweets. Or our clever body can trigger a completely different energy supply process. It can start breaking down its own fat reserves, carefully stored up over the summer. Those very reserves from that dreaded love handle around your waist that's so hard to get rid of. We, modern, perpetually snacking, and completely satiated people, have lost this valuable skill. Our bodies have almost completely and permanently forgotten how to switch to this second life-saving option. Constant sweet cookie snacks and endless office coffee breaks are doing their dirty work. They simply don't give our sluggish metabolism a single chance. We can't activate this ancient and incredibly useful natural fat-burning mechanism. Our pancreas constantly produces insulin, reliably blocking access to fat stores. The medieval peasant body, on the other hand, was the absolute and undisputed champion in this regard. These people were masters at quickly burning their own subcutaneous fat. When the usual carbohydrate-rich food in their cold pantry finally ran out, a miracle occurred. Their well-trained metabolism, without the slightest panic, switched to hidden internal reserves. The body understood that there was no more food and opened access to stored liquid fuel. They entered a state of deep and life-saving ketosis incredibly smoothly and naturally. They didn't need any trendy diets or expensive medical consultations to achieve this. People now love to spend hours online talking about all the incredible benefits of this chemical state. Modern sports and fitness bloggers are building entire multi-million-dollar industries around it. In this amazing state, the cleansed human brain begins to function with incredible clarity and precision. It easily discards all extraneous and anxious thoughts, focusing only on what matters most. Meanwhile, the physical body feels absolutely no sharp or nagging muscle fatigue. This happens because the muscles begin to receive pure energy directly. They feed on energy from broken down fat cells, bypassing sharp spikes in blood sugar. Ketones, special substances produced by the liver, provided the peasants with stable and steady energy. This crystal clear energy was enough to get them through to the first warmth of spring with absolute ease. They successfully biohacked their bodies every harsh winter, completely free of charge. They did this long before the invention of that silly and incredibly pretentious modern word. Today, millions of people download expensive paid apps for intermittent fasting. They install these trackers on their big, bright, shiny smartphones. Modern city dwellers heroically and with great difficulty endure long 16-hour stretches without their favorite food. They constantly glance nervously at their smartwatches, waiting for the long-awaited end of their fasting period. They do this solely to slightly improve their appearance. Their main goal is simply to shed a couple of extra pounds before the upcoming beach season in the summer. Peasants, on the other hand, did this every year for a completely different, more prosaic reason. They starved simply because there was literally no food in their empty wooden pantries. But the end results of this harsh and brutal forced fast turned out to be truly astonishing. Modern medical science is studying these ancient dietary patterns with great astonishment. It turns out that periodic, prolonged fasting thoroughly and deeply cleanses all our cells. It systematically rids the body of dangerous accumulated molecular waste. This natural cleansing process is called autophagy, and a Nobel Prize was even awarded for its study. It also powerfully and absolutely guarantees a reduction in the risk of many dangerous diseases. Fasting suppresses hidden and chronic inflammatory processes in the human body. And let's not forget about the highly questionable taste of their winter diet. What they actually ate during those difficult months would shock us. In winter, they survived on nothing but coarse and heavily fermented peasant food. The basis of their diet was incredibly sour and crunchy sauerkraut. They also actively consumed heavily salted and very hard root vegetables. It sounds like far from the most appealing and appetizing food for a modern person. You certainly wouldn't order such a dish for a festive family dinner at a nice restaurant. But from a strictly scientific biological standpoint, it was a true powerhouse of healing. These foods contained a huge amount of live probiotics and invaluable beneficial vitamins. It was precisely the long and active bacterial fermentation that worked real biological miracles on the foods. It reliably preserved the vital vitamin C in the vegetables for months. This crucial process continued uninterrupted in wooden barrels throughout the long, cold winters. This life-saving, acid-rich vitamin reliably protected them from the terrible and agonizing disease of scurvy. Without it, people face the inevitable and complete loss of all their teeth from bleeding gums. Sauerkraut literally saved entire villages from extinction during periods of snowstorms. Our modern, incredibly pampered, and utterly lazy gut simply couldn't handle such a task. Our sterile digestive system would be absolutely horrified by their coarse and tough food. The abundance of unprocessed, tough fiber would cause us severe discomfort and bloating. And the complete absence of the refined sugars we're accustomed to would lead to severe carbohydrate withdrawal. A typical city dweller would instantly experience terrible digestive problems and intense pain. But it was precisely this Spartan and austere diet that gave the peasants incredible health. This food created a truly rock-solid and completely impenetrable internal microbiome in their guts. Beneficial bacteria actively multiplied and formed a powerful natural shield for the entire body. This barrier easily and extremely effectively protected them from absolutely any external threats. It stopped even the most terrifying and vicious medieval intestinal infections of the time. Their strong natural immune system was trained by daily harsh trials. It was ready to repel attacks, like an elite Spartan army before a great decisive battle. Every day they ate very tough, undercooked roots in thick soups. They cooked porridge from the coarsest, unground grain without any chemical flavor enhancers. This simple food forced their entire long digestive tract to work non-stop. Their organs operated at the absolute limit of their physiological capabilities every single day. Modern advanced gastroenterology only confirms this remarkable historical pattern. It has been proven that the more complex and coarse your daily diet is, the healthier your digestive tract will be. This daily, forced exertion easily surpasses absolutely any modern athletic standard. No Olympic champion today could work at such a pace for years on end without rest. The exact nature of their constant movement from day to day demands special attention. This historical phenomenon deserves a separate, very careful, and detailed scientific analysis. Let's take a look at their endless, arduous steps in the next chapter. Modern people feel a sincere and deep sense of pride at the end of the workday. This pride arises when their smartwatches display the coveted 10,000 steps. We buy incredibly expensive and stylish cushioned sneakers with soft soles. Then we put on a nice tracksuit and proudly go for a walk on the smooth city asphalt. We feel like we're making a huge contribution to our personal physical health. To a hardy medieval peasant, our laughable 10,000 steps meant absolutely nothing. It was simply a very light and completely unnoticeable morning warm-up before a hearty breakfast. Their difficult life was one endless and incredibly hard physical labor. This grueling process was practically never interrupted by a welcome break. They had absolutely no need for an expensive gold membership to a trendy, air-conditioned gym. Their daily, hard life from early childhood onward was that massive gym. Think for a second about how much real physical effort you need right now. How much energy do you expend just to drink some clean, cool water at home? You take a maximum of 5 lazy steps from the couch to your beautiful, bright kitchen. Then you smoothly turn the comfortable, shiny chrome faucet with 2 relaxed fingers. In the grim Middle Ages, simply drinking fresh water required a real feat. First, you had to dress very warmly in many layers to protect yourself from the biting, icy wind. Then you had to grab heavy, awkward wooden buckets with thick iron handles. After that, you had to walk at least half a mile through deep, sticky, cold snowdrifts. Once you reached the river, you had to break through the thick ice, scoop up the icy water, and carry that heavy load back. And this enormous effort was undertaken just for a few liters of ordinary drinking water. On top of that, you also had to chop a huge pile of hard birch firewood. This wood was vital for keeping the life-saving evening fire burning at home. This standard morning routine alone easily rivals a modern workout. It is equivalent to a full-fledged, high-intensity cardio workout at an expensive fitness club. There is a very old and incredibly wise peasant proverb. It tells the plain truth about gathering firewood for a harsh and long winter. They say that firewood always warms a tired person exactly twice a season. The first time you get hot is when you chop it with great effort in the forest. And the second time you warm yourself is when you burn it on a cold evening in your cozy hearth. And this is by no means just a beautiful poetic metaphor from a dusty academic anthology. It is not a fabrication by authors to preserve folk peasant tales and ancient wisdom. Chopping thick logs with a heavy iron axe is the perfect biomechanical exercise. It forces absolutely every major muscle group in your body to work simultaneously and in sync. Your heart begins to beat much faster, pumping liters of blood through your veins. Blood rushes powerfully and rapidly through all your limbs, supplying oxygen to your tired muscles. Due to this active internal friction, your body begins to generate a massive amount of life-saving heat. This was their most important, accessible, and absolutely reliable way to simply avoid freezing. They used it during the endlessly long, wind-swept winter days spent working outdoors. When you get very cold in the freezing weather, you don't look for a warm shelter. You don't curl up in a cozy ball under a fluffy blanket with a cup of hot, sweet tea. You grab your heavy work tool and start working even harder and faster. You do this consciously to get your stagnant, cold blood flowing as much as possible. Modern sports physiology has a specific scientific term for this complex process. It's called thermogenesis, which is directly triggered by constant, non-training related daily physical activity. Powerful muscle contractions very quickly transform the human body, vulnerable as it is, into a source of salvation. They turn it into a true, powerful, internal biological furnace. This furnace operates without the slightest technical glitch and requires no connection to an electrical outlet. And this amazing biological heating station ran at a steady, moderate pace constantly. It never shut down throughout the peasants' long and exhausting workday. These rugged people rarely performed quick, sharp, and short sprints. They didn't lift maximum weights for the sake of records, as we do today in CrossFit. Their daily colossal physical exertion was very steady, constant, and moderate. Yet it lasted continuously from the coldest, foggiest dawn until the darkest sunset. Sports scientists today call this specific type of exertion low-intensity activity. This activity proceeds in a completely stable state without sudden spikes in heart rate. And it is precisely this long, steady mode of exertion that provides the best training for the heart muscle in the world. It develops a phenomenal and incredibly dense capillary network throughout the body. Thanks to this dense blood supply, their physical endurance was simply fantastic. By our modern, pampered, office-bound standards, they were true, enduring superhumans. My weak legs are starting to ache treacherously and hurt unpleasantly right now. This happens just from a fleeting thought about their daily work routine. Just imagine for a moment that you're carrying a huge sack of heavy, damp grain. It weighs a good 50 pounds, and you have to carry it for a long 5 miles. And on your tired, bloodied feet, you're not wearing high-tech athletic sneakers. You have no soft gel soles to support the arch of your foot with every hard step. You're wearing nothing but rough, stiff pieces of leather with absolutely no modern cushioning. You're walking very slowly and with great difficulty through sticky mud, deep snow, and a winding, uneven road. At the same time, you're forced to constantly balance your uncomfortable, shifting load on your shoulders. Your deep core stabilizing muscles are working themselves to the bone right now. They were pushed to such extreme limits that no modern elite fitness trainer could ever have imagined. Thanks to this harsh, deprivation-filled life, they developed an iron-hard muscular frame. Their musculoskeletal system became incredibly strong, powerful, and very dense. The density of their bone tissue was significantly higher than ours, a fact scientifically proven. It surpassed the metrics of any average modern sedentary office worker. Their joint ligaments and muscle tendons were more like thick, resilient steel cables. They were capable of withstanding colossal, daily and destructive impact loads for years. These people never once in their long lives encountered the complex medical term osteoporosis. This was because their strong bones were constantly subjected to the necessary physical stress. The bitter historical irony is that modern evidence-based medicine asks the same of us. Doctors strongly advise us to engage in regular strength training specifically to achieve this therapeutic effect. We are desperately, and at great expense, trying to artificially recreate what used to be the daily norm. We are imitating an environment that was completely natural and ordinary for our rugged ancestors. But what is most striking about this whole story is their physiology of recovery. Their ability to bounce back after such grueling exertion was simply phenomenal. Today, after a grueling hour-long workout at the gym, we drink expensive chocolate protein shakes. Then we lie on a soft sofa for a long time with a buzzing electric massage gun in our hands. Medieval peasants had neither personal, professional masseurs nor hot, relaxing baths. They didn't have fancy plastic jars of supplements for rapid muscle growth. Their main and only means of recovery was that very same collective night's sleep. They slept close together in a very cool, almost icy wooden room. This cold night air effectively and quickly reduced deep inflammation in their overworked muscles. It worked exactly the same way an ice bath works today for elite professional athletes. Today, wealthy, famous athletes pay insane amounts of money for these trendy treatments. They go for short cryotherapy sessions at the most expensive modern private clinics. All that muscle mass would be completely useless without one very important psychological detail. Their everyday mindset was radically and completely different from the way we think. It differed from the way we weak-willed people perceive life's inevitable difficulties today. Let's move on to their main mental secret. In our comfortable times, bookstore shelves are overflowing with flashy bestsellers on positive thinking. We are constantly taught to visualize success, combat burnout, and find our inner safe comfort zone. If our home internet suddenly goes down for an hour, we already feel a mild panic attack creeping up on us. To a medieval peasant, the trendy concept of a comfort zone would have sounded like the utter ravings of a madman. Their survival psychology was built on entirely different, more fundamental, down-to-earth, and harsh principles. They never read Marcus Aurelius and certainly didn't know the beautiful ancient Greek word stoicism, but they were the greatest and most steadfast stoics in human history for purely practical reasons. When your only harvest can be completely destroyed by hail, panic is absolutely useless and even deadly. They viewed all suffering, cold, and deprivation as an entirely natural and inevitable part of human existence. This fundamentally alters the nervous system's biochemical response to any sudden life difficulties and blows of fate. Modern, pampered people react to cold or hunger with a sharp and powerful surge of the hormone cortisol. We instinctively interpret this as a critical emergency requiring immediate and urgent resolution. Our anxious brain screams about danger, our heart beats faster, and our stress levels skyrocket. Medieval people treated the biting cold exactly the same way we treat rain outside the window. It's quite unpleasant, but it's certainly no reason for mass hysteria or deep emotional trauma. Such a calm and philosophical acceptance of harsh reality saves an incredible amount of a person's vital mental energy. You don't need to waste precious calories on anger, disappointment, or endless self-pity. You simply put on another itchy woolen shirt in silence and go chop that darn firewood. Psychologists today respectfully call this a radical acceptance of inevitable and uncontrollable life circumstances. Surprisingly, it is precisely this level-headed attitude that allows the body to adapt much more quickly to physical hardships. A calm brain confidently sends signals to the body that everything is under its complete control. Their tight-knit social structure also played a huge and decisive role in maintaining collective mental health. Survival in the brutal Middle Ages was never a solo project for a single ambitious hero. It was always a complex team effort, where the life of the entire community depended on every single person. You physically couldn't just lock yourself in your apartment and completely ignore your neighbors for years on end. You built wooden houses together, harvested heavy crops together, and fought the consequences of harsh winters together. This forced social cohesion gave them an incredibly strong sense of basic psychological security. Even if your personal harvest was completely destroyed, you knew for certain that the community would not let you starve to death. Modern society is highly atomized, and we very often feel utterly alone in a vast crowd. We naively rely on the abstract state, health insurance, and our bank accounts, but not on our neighbors. And this makes us far more fragile and vulnerable in the face of truly massive global crises. Think for yourself, how much simpler and easier it is to endure hardships when you share them with dozens of other people. You sit together in an icy stone church, work together in a frozen field, and sing old songs together. Physical pain shared with someone else is exactly twice as easy to bear as pain that is purely individual. Modern medical research proves that strong social bonds actually reduce the physical perception of pain. What we treat today at great expense with antidepressants, they treated with daily, close social interaction with their neighbors. And it worked brilliantly, despite their complete lack of prestigious degrees in psychotherapy. Moreover, their entire measured life was very strictly tied to the natural rhythms of the surrounding environment. They did not try to brazenly deceive their biological clocks with the bright artificial light of modern smartphone screens. As the light of the winter day faded, all active physical activity ceased immediately. This forced humility before the mighty forces of nature shaped a very healthy, strong, and resilient human psyche. You can't control the weather in any way, so you don't even try to waste your nerves over it. Today, we obsessively try to control absolutely everything in our everyday and very comfortable urban life. From the air temperature in a cozy bedroom to the number of likes under a new photo on social media. And when we suddenly lose this illusory control, our fragile psyche begins to slowly but surely crumble. People in the Middle Ages controlled very few things, yet they possessed truly immense inner strength. Their unshakable confidence was built not on fragile gadgets, but on their own calloused hands and resilient bodies. They left us an amazing and very important lesson, one we were too quick to decide to forget forever. The human body is the most perfect, reliable, and adaptable biological machine for survival on this planet. We simply stopped using those incredible functions, built into us by evolution itself, out of sheer laziness. Instead of toughening ourselves up, we began obsessively building ever warmer and softer cells of absolute comfort. And perhaps it is high time for us to recall at least a small part of these long-forgotten ancient skills. Let's draw the final conclusions of this brief historical investigation. To sum up, we can safely and honestly say that we have become far too complacent over the past 100 years. We have willingly traded our natural genetic resilience for central heating and round-the-clock delivery of ready-made meals. It sounds great as long as the whole system is working, but as soon as the power goes out, we find ourselves completely helpless. The medieval survival instinct is far from just the mundane ability to chop wood in the bitter cold. It is the amazing ability of the body and mind to adapt flexibly to any, even the harshest, conditions of reality. Of course, no one in their right mind is urging you to sell your apartment right now and move into a cold wooden hut. We certainly don't need to go back to the Dark Ages to become strong and resilient people again. But we can certainly integrate at least some of their forgotten wisdom into our modern, sterile lives. Take walks in the cool air a little more often. Give your body a break from constant eating every now and then, and simply move more. Modern doctors grandly call this biohacking, though in reality, it's simply a logical return to our roots. Our deep genetics still vividly remember those cold winters and the hard labor in the endless icy fields. Inside absolutely every modern office worker lies an incredibly resilient biological machine designed for absolute survival. And all it takes to finally awaken it is to consciously step out of your warm comfort zone, at least sometimes. Because a person's true, genuine strength is always born precisely where their everyday comforts end. Be sure to remember this the next time you feel like complaining about the slightly bad weather outside your window. Thank you for diving into this amazing historical era with me.